I don't understand.
Yeah.
How this is going to help you people.
Do Peter Falk!
This is very embarrassing, but whenever Wesley, the Princess Buttercup, as you wish, he would really saying, "Leave me alone." No, I love you. Sorry. Yeah.
Let's give a very warm welcome to Maurice LaMarche and Rob Paulsen. Yeah! That's it. Thank you. Yeah! Please have a seat.
How are you?
A lot of people have had bad breakfast this morning. I can hear it out there. Lord, point it! Yeah. Hi.
Sam.
As you all could tell, two of the sweetest people I've ever met.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you all have been working together for over 20 years?
Oh my gosh.
30.
Yeah.
Over 30.
What
And
is
Maurice and I had the pleasure of meeting,
Your phone is.
oh, is my phone
your
still
is
on?
still talking
I'm
to us.
sorry, it's hang on. Jesus Christ, oh my.
I understand it though, because what he's watching is a panel from last week at another con
Yes.
that he and his son did. It was
Yeah,
their
my
first
son
panel
Ash was
together,
with
so-
me.
Yeah.
By the way, for those of you who are game folk, check out my son's website. It's really cool. It's called goodvibesgaming.com. And my son Ash is a game journalist, and he and his buddies have put together a remarkable gaming, all-inclusive website that you should check out. So thank you for that, Mo.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Mo and I have had, well, from my angle, it is an extreme pleasure. I can't speak for my friend the Brain, but have had my extreme pleasure of working together probably since the mid-'80s.
At least, well, I think it was the late 80s. I
Was
think The first thing we ever worked on was The New Adventures of Johnny Quest, so whatever year that was.
Do you guys
I think it
remember
was like
Johnny Quest?
1990.
88, something like that.
Well, I know
Is that before Killer Tomatoes?
Killer Tomatoes was 91, I think.
Two gentlemen old enough to be your grandparents
Yes.
talking about Killer Tomatoes.
Yes, Killer Tomatoes, and you're going, I wasn't born in 91. I wouldn't have watched that, even
Yeah.
if I was. No, I'm kidding. That was a fun show. We got to meet Sean's dad.
Right,
on that.
Sean Astin's who's
Sean
here.
Astin's dad, John, was the villain on that show. And John and I discovered we have the same birth date. Different years, of course. He's younger. So we call each other. I call Sean Astin's dad, John, every year on our March 30th birthday, and we have a little chit-chat. Yeah, he's a nice man. I love him.
But yeah, we really have had a remarkable, not only professional run, but to be able to work with someone whom you would choose to be your best friend in the world and get paid. We've won the lottery.
Yeah, absolutely
Living the
jackpot
dream.
time there.
It's fantastic.
For sure.
Did you anticipate Pinky and the Brain returning after a 20-year hiatus?
No, I was sure if they did it again, they'd do it with celeb stunt casting. In my worst nightmare, I thought it was Peter Dinklage and Russell Brand.
Not too far from the truth these days, kids.
Yeah. So, I just thought we were done with the characters, and we had to be grateful for that time. And, when we heard through the grapevine, that it was coming back, and that's when I went, yeah, but probably not with us. Big old, nobody wants Mo anymore. When I heard that Steven Spielberg actually went to bat in the pitch meetings, he pitched
Just add interesting.
himself.
It was his call.
He laid out 4 8x10s of our actual faces and said, "These are our stars. We don't go ahead with the show without them." And that was, and he had in his mind, it's not because we're such great guys and he likes us and he does like us and we are great guys. But his thinking was, I'm doing this to give people back a piece of their childhoods. And so if I'm going to do that, let me do it all the way. So, because it's jarring when you see a show come back, a reboot, and it's like, well, those aren't the voices. When I was a kid, and I was a kid in the early 60s, when of necessity, Barney Rubble's voice changed because Mel Blanc was nearly killed in a car accident, it still threw me when Dawes Butler took over the part. I was like, wait a second, that's not Barney.
Yeah.
Only my voice wasn't that deep yet because I was 4. That's not Barney. You know, and so for him to want to preserve the show, the sound of the show, and have the original performances, the original actors play it, was great foresight on his part because the show was met with great critical acclaim, and I think we did well. It's just the in terms of viewership, but the what's it called? The thing that happened. The thing that happens with a computer.
Hulu?
The algorithm. I don't know why. We didn't beat the algorithm in some way, shape, or form, which is why we, got. We got to stop. We were all hoping, including Wellesley Wild, our new EP, was like, man, we're going 7 seasons with this. We were sure we were going to get to do that, but we got your 36 episodes of Animaniacs with 35 Pinky and the Brains, and so that's new stuff.
That is an insane flex to say that Steven Spielberg co-signed it and advocated for you. How was the process kind of going from Animaniacs and then going into your own show?
Oh, back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
When what you feel this one? I've been yapping.
You're the brain, far away.
I remember feeling like, I wouldn't say the weight, but certainly the import of the idea that we were going to be the lead show on only their second night. They launched the WB, slowly. So they had Wednesday nights first, or Tuesday nights. Wednesdays. I was right the first time. Thank you. And you would know, working for the WB in its day, and thank you, that Sunday night was going to be their next, we were going to be the flagship show. So they were very nice. They gave us raises because they were like, okay, you're in prime time now. Here's some money, but we were carrying the 7 o'clock half hour.
Hang on a second now. 7 o'clock on Sunday night, is that right? Let's see, what else is on? If you're going to be put on opposite a show, that is not the show opposite which you prefer to be placed.
Yes, on the other hand, it is the show to be put opposite so that you don't, you go, well, how could we have won?
Yeah. Right.
What shot did we have?
We can suck and have a good logical reason.
We could also have a brilliant show, and I think we did. And of course, we only lasted the 22 episodes, and we were back in daytime, so that was
right.
We got our own show after Animaniacs, and but that was kind of neat. They kind of rolled out the primetime red carpet for us. We went to the launches and all that sort of thing. It was kind of fun.
I had Godiva food pellets.
We just met, but I do a lot of theories on cartoons. And
here we go.
If you guys are okay if I share it, yeah? So it's my headcanon that Pinky's actually the genius. And he's humoring the brain. What are your thoughts on that?
That is why they call it a theory, my dear.
You're biased.
Yes. Well, let's just put it this way. Can he build an infundibulator?
I
rest my case. Boom.
He's right. No, and I think that it's very clear it is supposed to be ambiguous in the theme song when it says the one is a genius, the other's insane. And it's up to you to determine who that is.
And there is one episode, I think it was the episode Fly, where you're levitating.
Oh, yeah.
While I'm just pontificating about the plan, and I just turn and go, Pinky, how long have you been able to do that?
What?
Floop, 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 So there is I think there's a touch of genius to both characters, and there's a touch of insanity to both characters, because Brain, the AA definition, if you will, of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And for Brain, that is a type of insanity. Every episode he tries, and he doesn't get it that a 2-inch tall lab mouse simply cannot take over the world. So in that way, he is insane, but he's also quite intelligent.
Thank you. Art does not imitate life, I promise you.
I was going to ask you.
No, I actually think you're in the pantheon of the Rob and Mo show. You are the genius.
Well, I definitely showed today with my pantheon, and I'm glad
Thank
that
God
I
you
did.
showed up with your pantheon.
That would have been, the whole front row would have been out of their minds.
That's despicable.
Despicable.
So we don't have to worry about you two trying to take over the world.
No, I think you.
No, if Maurice succeeds, we got no show. So I want to
The
keep.
show ends. We
yeah.
can't have that. We want there always to be the possibility to come back.
I actually would love to see what the world would look like if Brain was ruling it. Like, what would you implement?
Ruled the world. Every man would have a stupid mouse for a friend.
All food pellets would be pate flavored. Yes. I don't know. I've never thought. I've never really thought about it. I guess he would eliminate cats. There we go.
So I think it's you, Maurice, who normally says your favorite role is your next role. Is it you or is it?
That's Rob.
That's Rob. Sorry.
That's a Robism, a Paulsenism. Yeah.
So what type of, instead of what's your favorite role, what's your favorite type of characters to play?
Oh gosh, I don't think I have a favorite type to play. I seem to be most comfortable with comedy and music, and that's basically the type of work I'm known for. But every actor thinks we can do anything, and we want to try anything. This form of voice acting is about acting, small v, large A. Mo and I both have live performance backgrounds, as is the case with virtually everyone who does this gig. And I came to LA ostensibly to do live action. I came from Michigan, a singer first who became an actor, and spent a lot of time traveling around the country before I moved to LA. But I was there to do what one would expect: TV, movies, music, commercials, you name it. But as is often the case, we put ourselves in a position to get lucky. Had I stayed in Flint, no one would have been able to see, even if I could present it to someone, they wouldn't have had any power to do anything with it. So I went out there not knowing that this would necessarily be my vibe. All of a sudden I slipped into, it's my vibe. But I just wanted to work. So I got a call to read for these new shows in the mid-'80s called Transformers and G.I. Joes, and I met Charlie Adler there, and one thing led to another. And the first thing I noticed, you guys, with all these television actors I recognized from when I was a kid, Peter Bonners, Marcia Wallace, Hamilton Camp, Bob Ridgely, all these people from Carol Burnett and F Troop, and all these Larry Storch, all these people I recognized from television on cartoons, and it had nothing to do with anything they'd done before. They were utterly limited only by their creativity. That's acting. That's Mo says, hey, I'm going to be the monster, you be the monster killer, and you sound like a monster killer who's going to be Donald Duck. Okay. It's literally that. So I did half a dozen of those, and then I'd keep going in and auditions for Hill Street Blues or MacGyver or St. Elsewhere or Three's Company or Night Court. And I'd walk in a room, there'd be 50 other guys who could be my cousin. And of course, that's the way it is when you're a non-celebrity talent. You're initially called because you might be the type. Your acting chops are great, but sometimes that doesn't matter. In this realm, it's about your chops. And I love that. And I'm also the incredible beneficiary of living that axiom daily in my work life, that a high tide raises all boats. If you can't get better with Mo and Nancy Cartwright and Tress and John DiMaggio and Billy West and James Arnold Taylor, Corey Burton, Frank Welker, Peter. then you're not cut out for this, because they're so good, and they are also the most generous of people and want you to be better. So that's a long, convoluted way of me saying, I just prefer to act. I know what seems to butter my bread, but I've done a couple of, badass characters, and I really enjoy that too. But the thing that lights me up the most is laughter and music, for sure.
Love that. I'm just gonna ask one more question. If the audience has questions, now's definitely the time to line up by the microphone. Respectfully, please, no running.
I didn't get to answer your question.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that while I concur with my esteemed colleague, I do have I find that my favorite notes to play are the curmudgeon, the annoyed character. I seem to have a facility for that. I don't know why, from whence it comes in my real life, but the grumpy character is sort of a forte of mine. Yes, I can play heroes, and I like playing heroes. I took over from Kevin Bacon for the Balto sequels, and I enjoyed that very much. So I do love playing a hero and a character with a heart, but somehow those brains and Morbos and
I was just going to say,
Grumpy from 7D and
do you consider Morbo to be curmudgeon?
Somewhat. Ask me how the family is.
Hey, Morbo, how's the family?
Belligerent and numerous.
There you go.
I love it. My last question is, how does it feel to impact so many people in their lives for so long?
Extremely gratifying.
Yeah.
I mean, just in the last day and a half, just at this con, people have just said, just told us how, at least once a con, somebody tells us a story of how there was the day in their high school years, usually, where they were bullied, they were teased, made fun of, and they had thought maybe to end it all, and they put on the TV and at 4:30 and watched a Pinky and the Brain or an Animaniacs, and it made them laugh. And, with that release of endorphins and that distraction from that terrible thought, they got to carry on, and they realized that they were seeking a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And now here they are, these beautiful adults with careers, and a lot of them would have been called nerds in those days. Now they're scientists, and they're helping make policy and changing the world. So it's a very gratifying feeling to know that something you've done. And I always say the same thing to each and every one of them. There were 187 people that went into the making of each episode of Pinky the Brain, Animaniacs, whatever, and we, on behalf of all those 187 people, thank you for letting us know we helped. But we just got to be the guys that read the words into a microphone. But if that was a contribution, we're grateful to be part of it.
That's exactly what Mo said. We don't draw them, we don't write them. It's the characters who are famous, and we get that. But we are the grateful beneficiary of all this love, and it never is not overwhelming. I had a gentleman came up to me yesterday, not unlike Mo, a little tearful, and he had a very powerful story to tell. And of course, he said the loveliest thing, and I understand why he said it. However, I had to correct him because he said, I know you hear this a lot. And I said, yeah, but it's the first time I've heard it from you. And clearly, this is a big deal. Let me tell you something, you guys. We are lottery winners. We have worked really hard for the privilege of being with you today and throughout your lives. And it's very hard to think of anybody who comes to these events who is not grateful to be here. But if you ever run into somebody and you stand in their line for an hour and you drive 2 states away and you pay whatever to get in, and that person goes, yeah, great, thank you, get out of their line. This is a privilege. Being able to have a superpower, watch this, Narf!
Get out of their line and come to our line. We'll treat you right.
That's right.
I love
Did
that.
I do well with what you told me to say, Brain?
Yes, Pinky.
Excellent.
Yes, and soon, with enough people in our lines, I can use the infundibulator and we make them all in my sway.
Ooh,
and then they can come over to your line and you'll do something to mess it up.
I actually have one more question.
Okay.
Is it difficult to say some of the words that Brain says? Like, I would trip over it. Do you have to practice before?
Sometimes, I mean, if there's a particularly scientific word, I'll always, before we roll, I'll go, okay, well, how's this? What's this one? But when I was a little kid, my dad he worked for a company called Franklin W. Horner Pharmaceuticals in Canada, and he was a salesman. He would go around to all of the pharmacies and try and sell their brand of nauseant and et cetera, et cetera. So he would have the samples and I'd read them and I go, Daddy, how do I say this? He goes, that's diamond hydronate. Diamond hydronate. And I got very good at saying scientific names. I just go through all these sample packs and, it was, lysergic acid diethylamide. No, he wasn't carrying that. But I became fascinated with the chemical names. So I got good at pronouncing big words. I would actually go through the dictionary looking for big words because I knew I wasn't smart, but I knew I could pretend to be smart if I had a really, just a quiver full of really big words. And so that seems to be, there was one season where I was playing like 4 scientific geniuses on different shows, they were all, being produced concurrently. I was Egon Spengler on Real Ghostbusters. I find that extremely gratifying, thank you. I was Brain. I was Extreme Ghostbusters, sorry. So Egon, Brain, a character called Ethno on something called Space Goofs, who was also the scientist character. He sounded a lot like James Mason, good heavens. And then probably one of the more underrated shows I was on, I was a character named Dr. Splitz, who had another side named Splitsy. And that show was called Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys. Thank you to our viewer.
Colonel Seasons.
It was created by Gordon Bressak, who was 3-time Emmy-winning writer, along with Charlie Howell of Pinky and the Brain and Animaniacs. And that show, we had Malcolm McDowell on the show. We had James Avery and Karen Murayama from The Groundlings, and Jeff Bennett was one of the first places I met Jeff Bennett. That was a treasure trove of a show. If you can find it anywhere, even if it's just on YouTube, it was good science fiction. I mean, Dorothy Fontana, who used to write Star Trek, the original series, was, writing scripts for us. It was really a special show. Yeah. Anyway, so that's that. So my big word thing, it led to me always being cast as the scientific genius character.
It's definitely a superpower. I can barely say bathroom. I have to think in my head.
Do you call it bathroom?
Oh, Bethune. I say Bethune a lot. I'm thinking about
Norman Bethune. Yes. All right, here we go.
All right, let's start the first question.
Hello.
Oh my God.
You can bend it down.
Bend it down.
There you go.
You just need bend it.
There we go.
There the first test.
There we go.
actually.
It's the first time using a microphone. There we go. All right. So, hi, my name is Elle. I hopped onto the show in the Animaniacs reboot in 2020, and since then, I've met some of my best friends through fan circles. So, I just want to say thank you for being involved and being so passionate about these characters for the last 20 years. It's awesome.
Oh, bless
Thank
your
you.
heart. Thank you, sweetie.
And that leads me to my question for both of you. What was your favorite episode you did as Pinky and the Brain in the reboot?
In the reboot.
In the reboot, I would say for me, it was the episode where I create a robot son. Bonding.
Yeah.
James bonding. I love that episode because I don't treat you particularly well, and then I see the error of my ways and come back to him. I love any episode that shows the actual love between the characters because at the end of the day,
it's a love story.
It's a love story. Yeah. It's a bromance between two very unlikely cage mates, but together hijinks ensue. But at the very core, these two characters care a lot about each other, even though Brain feels he can't show it. Yeah.
There's I don't remember the episode, but there's a song where Pinky just essentially does sort of Johnny Rotten and Sid Vicious. It's my birthday! It's my birthday! I love that
Narf
one.
Day.
Say again?
I think it's Narf Day.
Oh, well, there you go. Thank you. But my favorite episode of the reboot is, I think, in the last season where Pinky and the Brain are, I forget where they're trying to get, but the GPS system is freaking out, and Brain's yelling at Pinky, just typical. It's old shtick comedy, but it's Pinky and the Brain style, and there is something fun when you see cartoon characters freak out and scream, and that's the show, you guys, inside the studio. That's the show.
Wasn't that the episode where Pinky asks Brain to do impressions?
Yes.
To
calm him down, that's right. Yes, do William Shatner!
I don't understand.
Yeah.
How this is going to help you, Pinky.
Do Peter Falk!
This is very embarrassing, but whenever Wesley, the Princess Buttercup, as you wish, he would really saying, "Leave me alone." No, I love you. Sorry. Yeah.
Brain! No, wait! You're making me all nervous. Do Rodney Dangerfield!
I tell you, I'm all right now, but last week I was in rough shape, you know. Yeah. Last week I went to bed with an inflatable girl. Now I got an inflatable guy looking for me, okay?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hi.
Sorry, I need a second. You still got me laughing.
That's good.
2 seconds.
Sorry, that.
That's all right.
Anyway, my name is Austin, and I pretty much grew up with
Colonel
cartoons
Seasons.
that you guys
Just
voiced.
interesting.
I'm sorry, you threw up with...
Threw up. On cartoons. You take
I'm
the
sorry, because
actual video
that happens too.
No.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry, now you just got me in laughing fits.
That's the idea, baby.
Sorry. Okay, I'm good. Okay. Like I said.
Namyo Renge Kyo.
Okay, let me try again. You guys have such versatile voices, and I just have to say, what do you think of the moments when you wind up like talking with yourself, like Rob on Ninja Turtles, when you basically wind up talking as, I believe was it Raphael and Donatello?
Yeah. What about you, Gappy? Yeah, right?
Yeah, like what was that like, essentially just having a conversation with yourself?
Oh, well, it's look, anytime that you're given this glorious opportunity to encounter another franchise character and you get to voice them both with a 25-year gap and they're both still relevant, dude, I don't even know. Oh, there's my parole officer again. It truly doesn't get any better unless you get another crack at 2 other iconic characters. And the boss, who's the king of Hollywood, says, "Oh, we're going to do this, but only if you want to."
Oh, sure.
Kidding me? No, and I'm not being coy. It is impossible for me to quantify that. It's the coolest thing in the world, and it bears repeating. It is not hyperbole, folks. We get how lucky we are, and we discuss it all the time. These events do nothing but remind us that we're in very rarefied air, and it's only because of you. That's true.
Billy West does what you're talking about all the time on Futurama. I mean, he's got 4 main characters that are always in the same room. So, well, Zap is always off on the ship causing trouble for the other 3, but, I can't even say the name without, the Kif sigh escaping my lips. But I was on a show called The Critic back in the 90s. Thank you. Another show that did not get its due. I thought it was brilliant. It was created by Mike Reese and Al Jean. Yep, it stinks. And the great John Lovett says Jay Sherman, the 4th most highly rated, film critic on 4 networks. And but on that show, I got to kind of be the Billy West. I got to do pages, three pages of dialogue where I was playing everybody. For me, that's like calisthenics, mental calisthenics. I love the exercise of doing that, of switching back and forth amongst three characters is to just so much fun. I may not play baseball or dribble basketball or anything like that. That's my sport. Like, how can I do that? How can I affect that separation and have it be flawless? Like, we'd do runs, and they learned not to ask, would you like to do all the Woody Allen lines first and then do all the, Captain Picard lines next, man. And all that? No. Yeah. Let me play them opposite each other. Let me just read down. And that to me was great fun.
The problem is, though, that if you overlap yourself, you need a phone call from somebody.
Yeah. You've also achieved a miracle of physics.
Yes.
And yet you can't fix a spaceship, Edno.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
I appreciate the question. Hello, sir.
Hi, I'm Will. I live here in D.C. This is amazing because when I was 10, my favorite show in the world was a little show called Pinky and the Brain.
Yes.
I was a kid who was really into the Titanic, and that first episode, Pinky and the Brain go to the Titanic, was like the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And so, 10-year-old Will,
Jim Belushi and John Vernon were the guest stars on that.
Oh my goodness, wow. So I have a question for each of you. Rob, where did Pinky's accent and voice come from? And
I've
Maurice...
been trying to figure that out since the 90s. He's never been to England. He came out of the genetic splicer with this accent.
And for Maurice, you mentioned the critic. I got really into the critic at the beginning of COVID quarantine. I'm wondering if you have any reflections on the show or news of a possible reboot.
It's delightful.
Only in my mind, unfortunately. John Lovitz would love to do it, but he only wants to do it as a live-action show. So there's that. And Mike Reese and Al Jean are both extremely busy on The Simpsons. Well, Al is extremely busy on The Simpsons. If any of you follow Mike Reese, and if you don't, follow Mike Reese writer on Instagram. He travels the world every week. He's in a new location. He and his beautiful wife Denise, and he just zooms in for one day of punch-up sessions. Mike is one of the great punch-up artists in the business, and just always finds the joke everybody else missed. So, but those two guys though are just way too busy to do a critic reboot. I would love it. I mean, it would just be the icing on the cake to bring that one back. But yeah, so there's no news on that front. But thank you for loving the critic, and I love doing it. I mean, just to be in the room with Charles Napier, who was so good, and just he made it effortless. And John Lovitz, Tress, of course, and there was just so many. And Jim Brooks. I mean, we table read the show. And I'd been watching Mary Tyler Moore and Taxi all through, and to hear especially if it was me reading a line, and to hear, if you've watched and you hear that laugh, anytime you're seeing an old Mary Tyler Moore, some of us who are of that age, and you hear that laugh, that's James L. Brooks, Oscar winner, Emmy winner, creator of all these brilliant shows. And to know that I elicited that laugh from James L. Brooks was just,
it's a huge deal.
Highlight. Yeah,
it's like being invited.
Achievement unlocked.
It's like being invited over to the couch, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're going on over to the couch. Ooh, Mr. Foster Brooks will be there. Oh yeah. Foster, have you had a few tonight?
Sorry?
Have you had a few tonight, Foster?
I've had a few. Boxes of wine. A little box.
Now you're not going to go fly a plane tonight. Huh?
I don't so much fly as aim. Thank you. I love this guy so much. Thank you for your question. My Pinky's little crazy, quasi-cockney British thing came as a result of a deep love of the Goons, Peter Sellers, Spike Milligan, Harry Seacombe. The Pythons are my spirit animals. Jonathan Winters, Harvey Korman, Tim Conway. Red Skelton.
Do any of these names mean anything to any of you? Because they, by the way, were the geniuses of our childhoods and teenage years.
I mean, we're old. In fact, my high school yearbook picture is a cave painting.
Isn't that wild?
So, anyway, that's where that came from. And to be honest, Mo and I, Mo's different. The truth is, when Mo walked in to audition for Brain, once he gave his audition, they canceled the rest of them because he just, boom. Because he saw something, it's kind of obvious now because of what Mo has done with his prodigious skills. But Mo pulled a Dave Reese, or what, Reese, Dave Reese?
Mike Reese?
Mike Reese. He walked in, he found the thing that lit it up. And when he went in and did Brain as Orson Welles, they just literally said, oh, okay, click, and everybody else was done. In my case,
it wasn't anything brilliant. I thought they would draw on Orson Welles as a mouse. I saw that furrowed brow and those jowly cheeks, and I had never met the animation writer Tom Minton, who, if you look him up on your phone,
that's who he's modeled after.
That, if you just look up Tom Minton photograph or image, that's who he's modeled after. And if I'd have met Tom Minton, I'd have tried to do Tom Minton. And Tom Minton used to talk like this. He was very, very low-key kind of guy who talked a mile a minute in a very monotonous way. But he was a brilliant guy. He had a storehouse of facts. It was unbelievable. And if I'd have done that for the Brain, they would have gone, next. Okay, you get to be Squid the Pigeon. Get out of here.
But that's how
but I
good
just saw
Mo
Wells,
is.
and I was like, Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering? I think it's the first time I've done the voice in this panel.
Yeah.
We should probably do the voices more. We'll answer all your questions as Pinky in the Brain from going on.
So that's where it came. It was out of another of the critters in my quiver, my acting quiver, and over a course of a number of different auditions. Like I said, Mo was in and out and nailed it. And I think I did another 4 callbacks before they hired me to be Pinky. And speaking of our friend John Astin, John Astin, Sean's dad, was the second choice for Pinky.
Yeah, he was the front runner. Wow. He was the front runner at the end of day 1, Andre Romano told me. And then you came in on day 2 of the auditions, and but he might have been an interesting choice. If you,
he could have.
He had a great thing that he did. We met him on.
We did Tasmania.
We did Tasmania. We already knew him. He did a villain called Bull Gator.
Yeah, he was Bull. I was Axel.
And you were Axel, and he was always cheerful, even though his vile plan was to capture and perhaps kill the Tasmanian devil. He was just always very upbeat about it. Come on, Axel, let's go get that Tasmanian devil and turn him into a hamburger.
Yeah, Hey, Bull, the Tasmanian devil bit my face and I can't feel my head anymore. And you go, that's okay, Axel.
You're a pip, Axel.
Yeah. Great stuff. But so that's where that came about, and somewhere Mr. Spielberg and Tom Ruger and Gene McCurdy thought that would be an interesting combination, and that's the cool thing about cartoons, because there really are no rules, you know? Yeah. Thank you.
We had no idea, by the way, after we recorded the first one, because it was only about episode 3, and so nothing had repeated yet.
Yeah.
They had this storehouse of it was an anthology of different things they were trying. Katie Kaboom, the Good Feathers. We didn't know what was coming back. We didn't know if we just keep doing brand new things. And then, after we did the very first episode, which was the Jeopardy one, which aired 3rd, I believe, but it was the first one we did. I remember going, God, I hope we get to play these guys again. They're so much fun. So who knew that this almost cottage industry would pop up?
Wow. Thank you both. Narf!
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Oswald, and before I ask my question, I just want to say I grew up watching like the Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain reruns on the Hub, and my dad grew up watching it on its original run, so you're like kind of a...
Where's Dad?
You're multi-generational in your household.
Yeah, sorry if that makes you feel old. So my question is, what are Pinky and the Brain's opinions on cryptocurrency? Would they try to like take over the world with Narf coin or something?
Plan of all time. Yes. Original thinking, don't you think? Yes, my friend.
All I know is that NFT stands for Nerf Fancy Trinkets. As far as I know.
I will burn up all the hard drives. Yes, no, I don't know. All I know is that Maurice LaMarche has stayed well away from them in his investing portfolio, so.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hi.
Hello, I'm Joseph.
Hi,
Hello, Joseph.
And I actually wanted to ask the both of you a question. So, like, you've been voicing Pinky and the Brain for, like, a long time.
Yes.
And I actually wanted to, like, ask you, like, what have been your, like, favorite moments, like, involving, like, both Pinky and the Brain, whether it be, like, the Animaniacs, or, like, that one skit with, like, the Nostalgia Critic one
Just
time.
add interesting.
Like, well, yeah.
One time.
Like, yeah, like, you know, like, where
We
they
did
break
learn
up.
from that.
Yeah. What are our favorite moments together?
Like, yeah, essentially. Like, it can be, like,
I
involving
loved when you gave me the world for Christmas.
Yeah,
Our Christmas special. Yes.
That
I was
Christmas special.
deeply moved.
That really is to date, my favorite Pinky and the Brain episode.
Yeah.
To me, it really ticks all the boxes as to why that show is very special. The most precious thing to me is the way that our relationship translates to those characters on the screen. It's really rare when you can work with somebody whom you love, trust utterly, you totally get the joke, each other's joke, and then you have killer writers and a guy who has a pile of money that says, however you want to do it, do it. But that episode ticks all the boxes because Pinky is out of his mind with sadness and panic that he's not able to show the Brain how much he loves them. And he's really, oh my God, Santa Claus. And it's authentic. I don't know what I'm going to do. I've worked so hard, Brain, please. I love you so much. You don't know. Everyone in the world really needs you. And Brain is going, Pinky, shut up. Essentially
I need to take over the world.
Yeah.
My plan is the close. And by the way, this was the first episode. I know we've got one in the new season. I can't give it away because it's got a neat little twist to it. But this is the one where Brain legitimately took over the world.
Yes.
He succeeded for just about 7 seconds. And what he did with it is the gift of the Magi part of the story. So if you've never seen our Christmas special, the original Christmas special, try and find it wherever it's now playing, either on disc or whatever. We won the Primetime Emmy for it, beating out The Simpsons for the very first time in its history. We won in 1997.
So
thank you.
You're welcome in. Narf.
Thanks, buddy.
Unfortunately, we only have time for one more question, so this is the last one.
Pinky talks too much.
Rob and Maurice, you will be at the tables downstairs?
We'll be at our tables downstairs in the part with all the tables. I have no idea how to direct you to where we are. That place is massive down there.
Way to the
Jeez.
back.
Yes. Before we do the last question, though, I got to say it. Hello, nurse. Wow. Nice to see you. Thank you for dressing up like that and giving me permission to say that in this zeitgeist.
It's a pleasure.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Jason.
Hello, Jason.
I have to say thank you. Y'all have been a big part of my childhood growing up. Saturday mornings every day. I wake up with bowl cereal watching.
Wait a minute. You woke up every day and it was Saturday morning?
If I had to.
He's in a time loop, Pinky.
I was saying, didn't Bill Murray make a movie about
Yes.
this?
And then my daughter here also, big fan of y'all.
Hello, little nurse.
She got into y'all
Yes.
because of me. My question is for Rob. I know from one father to another, have y'all ever had to yell at your kids like in the Pinky voice or any other y'all's iconic voices?
Well, sadly, if I was going to, if when I yelled at I couldn't yell at him now because he's too much bigger than I am.
Oh, my.
But if I were to yell at my son to sort of elicit some sort of response that was comfortable for me, and I said something like, if you don't clean up that dog poop, I'm going to beat you like a rented mule. It probably wouldn't have, I would have picked up the dog poop because but you know what? I have to say now, I was fortunate enough to do a panel with my son Ash last weekend, whom Maurice was so kind to bring up. And I'm sure I raised my voice a few times, but I don't think I ever really yelled at my kid. I just wasn't very good at that. He's a good boy. But
I can say, all right, pick it up, I'm going to kick your ass. Oh, sorry, that's your girl. Your daughter's right next. I'll kick your ass as far as I can see. That's what I was going to say.
Well, your son has a pet donkey, doesn't he? You were going to threaten him.
An ass,
You were
right.
threatening his animal.
And your mom
Even
calls me
worse.
that. Yeah.
So would you have a question for Morris, too?
No questions for me. I can tell. This man has absolutely no curiosity about me whatsoever.
I just want to say I vote Brain for president, though.
What was that?
Brain for president.
Brain for president.
Yeah.
Yes.
2025.
Put the right mouse in the White House. Yes.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Frankie.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you so much. You were great. And
You both are amazing. Everyone loves you.
well, thank you
obviously.
to all of you for coming out.
Once again, you can see both Maurice and Rob at the tables downstairs. Please go say hello. They're wonderful people, and
Very
thank
kindly.
you.
Great to meet you.
Thanks so much for coming out, you guys. Really. Thank you.
So, what are we going to do tonight, Brain?
Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Watch Fandom Spotlight videos and then take over the world.
Hey, God, that's great. And maybe we should tell them all to have fun?
And follow their fandom. Then bow before my genius.